So we're asking, why as a country have we not eradicated pit latrines? How can we do so? To discuss, we're joined by the Program Manager for the South African Sanitation Technology Enterprise within the Water Research Council, that's Akin Akinsete. Mr. Akinsete, thank you for being with us. Firstly, what is your take on why pit latrines, which were meant to be eradicated completely in 2016, are still with us in 2021?
Thank you very much, Francis, and thanks for having me. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes, perfectly.
Yeah, so I think I must confess I've been following the coverage since the afternoon. And I think like the discussion has been around pit latrine itself. And I know that pit latrine does get a bad rap. But I do want to emphasize that there are different solutions that can be provided in schools. And from the data you've been showing on the screens, you'll find that in places whereby pit latrines are being used are usually in places where there are no existing reticulation sewer systems. So, and in those places, you don't have a choice but to put in pit latrines in there. According to the Department of Water and Sanitation, the minimum prescription for adequate sanitation in South Africa is a ventilated pit latrine. So as long as the pit latrine is ventilated, that is adequate sanitation. And I do know, like in so many schools, especially in the rural schools, as has been mentioned by your during the coverage, the issue there is lack of maintenance. Because if you maintain these toilets adequately, you shouldn't have these types of issues. And the unfortunate circumstances that we've seen in the schools whereby there have been fatalities, this has happened in dilapidated old toilets, which these kids are falling into.
Yeah. So you're saying the whole concern around pit latrines is perhaps misplaced, because if they're managed well, then they're safe. Is that what you're saying?
Yes and no. There is no. I, as a father, I send my daughter to school, and I expect my daughter to come back home safely. So as long as we still have unsafe facilities in schools, that's unacceptable. So I do get the outcry around this, and I think it is imperative that all hands have to be on deck, both government, at the private sector, NGOs. We need to work hand in hand together to ensure that that these facilities are safe, they're adequate, and they provide dignified sanitation to the learners.
Yeah.
As I was saying, something also, we need to pivot away from the conversation around pit latrines. As I mentioned before, in places whereby there are existing sewer systems, you won't find pit latrines in those places. It is in places whereby there are no sewer systems. That's where DBE has opted for the pit latrine.
And the department, if I may just interject there, the department has raised this before, saying you need the Department of Water and Sanitation, for example, to provide the water, and then the Department of Basic Education to build the toilets. You need synergy between these departments. And then, of course, provinces are involved with the national department overseeing everything. But still, let's remember that it's a government's own goal to eradicate pit latrines, and they keep on putting out the date. It's now 2023. We launched that SAFE initiative. Over 2 years, only 730 or so schools saw the construction of proper toilets. That's government's own targets. And how can it go so slowly?
No, that's a very good observation, Francis. And for me, I'd like to pivot away from there to ensure that we stay focused on the goal. I know things have been slow, and I can see, like was mentioned by my colleague from the Department of Basic Education, there was impact from COVID, and that we know. But we, as the WRC, we've been trying to contribute towards this initiative as well. Like the program that I'm managing, we've been allocated 6 schools at Eastern Cape to install next generation non-sewer sanitation systems. And that's why I said we need to pivot away from pit latrines, because the more pit latrines you put in there and you don't manage them properly, trust me, 5 years from now, we will be back in the same position. I saw in your earlier coverage They said the number has gone down from 3,000 to 2,000 toilets that have pit latrines. I can assure you in the next 3 to 4, 5 years, we'll be back in the same situation. All this pits will be full again. On the SASTEP program, we're trying to introduce next generation sanitation system into the system such that we have system that can provide the dignity of a flushing toilet without having to use a pit latrine and without having to connect to an existing sewage system. These systems are able to collect the waste, treat them safely, and able to discharge into the environment in a safe manner.
Okay, so this is a lovely futuristic solution, but in very few schools. Is it something that could be scaled up and touch many schools and many learners in this country?
Exactly. And that's what we've been preaching at the WRC, that we need to pull resources together, because this next generation sanitation that I'm talking about is something that can develop into a new industry in South Africa. Once we start getting, hopefully we should be manufacturing these toilets locally in South Africa, and that's going to create an industry. And what happens when you have an industry, you get economies of scale. Economies of scale comes with a drop in prices such that it becomes more affordable for government. And it's imperative that we move into this new paradigm such that we're able to provide clean and adequate sanitation that is dignified and befitting the next generation of South Africans.
All right, thank you for your time tonight. That's Program Manager for the South African Sanitation Technology Enterprise within the Water Research Council, saying there are solutions out there, but we need to use them on a much larger scale.